This is Uncle Russ. Welcome to episode number 2 of Uncle Russ Talking Shit. How am I talking shit, you say? Well, it doesn't mean I'm talking mean about you or anybody else, although I might at any given moment. But I mean shit in the more general term, as in stuff, things, a wide variety of subjects. Think of George Carlin, that joke he told about all your stuff, all your shit. Well, anyway, I'm going to be talking some shit today about vinyl record albums. I used to have a very large collection. Unfortunately, a few years back, most of it, almost all of it, was lost due to moisture damage and storm damage, things beyond our control. So I just have actually at this point, as in rebuilding a collection, it's expensive, and I've got enough expensive hobbies. But this is one that I still want to pursue, vinyl record albums. Love the analog rules, analog beats digital every time. I don't care what anybody says. I know a lot of old farts say, oh, the record sounded good back in the old days because the music was better, and that has nothing to do with it. It doesn't matter if the music was better or worse or indifferent. It's sound, it's science, it's provable. If you want more sound, deeper sound, richer sound, analog is the best. And since I don't have a reel-to-reel, I'll go for vinyl records. I was happy to get a copy of this one, a classic. This one turned the world of rock and roll upside down in 1969, the very first album from the Stooges. My favorite tune on here is, of course, I Want to Be Your Dog. Great album. I did not discover them in 1969 when this came out. I was 11 years old. However, it was only very, very shortly after that time that I discovered a band from Detroit called the MC5, which played a similar role in changing the landscape of rock and roll away from the hippy-dippy dreamland of San Francisco and more toward the down and dirty proto-punk rock of Motor City. This is the type the Stooges, MC5. I also would give credit to very much to New York Dolls. There's another one that's very, very essential. Velvet Underground, all bands that we need to be on the watch for. Let's fast forward to 1992. I'm going into the 90s, and I'm thinking, boy, music, there isn't any music worth a damn. This decade is really going to suck. Well, then I discovered a band called Tool. This is an EP, not an LP, but yet it still remains my favorite. The title cut of the song, Opiate, is their commentary about religion. It's a really interesting album. I previously only heard it on cassette, but I'm glad to have it on vinyl. Very grateful. Last record store day, I was able to pick up an exclusive. One of my favorite bands, Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band. This is a new release of an old concert. Features a lot of their very best material. This was a great exclusive to get. I'm a huge fan of Don Van Vliet and the alias Captain Beefheart. Some of his work was produced by Frank Zappa, such as this album, his classic, his masterpiece, his magnum opus, Trout Mask Replica. This edition of this is a beautiful gift that I received from my nephew Damon, who also is the producer of this segment on Lot 22 Productions and about everything else that's on there. This album, I would call it entry-level Beefheart if you're not a fan of more avant-garde music, but it's really, really wonderful stuff. It's unique. There's nothing else like it on the planet, I guarantee. Got a lot of my favorite songs by him on here, like Moonlight in Vermont, Old Fart at Play, The Blimp, Orange Claw Hammer, Veterans Day Poppy, Pina, Wildlife, more than I can mention right now. Hair Pie Bake one, not to be looked also as Hair Pie Bake 2. This is a really, really good record. Think of Mississippi Delta blues mixed with a little bit of freeform jazz and beatnik poetry. This set also came with this single. That's what I love about these editions with all the exclusive. Got a single of Pajugo Cadaver and Wildlife. Also a lyric sheet featuring all of his lyrics, some of his artwork. We have an actual trout mask replica. There you go. And a really, really wonderful tribute to Captain Beefheart written by Jack White called Epitaph for Don Van Vliet, which is really beautiful. Another type of record I like to collect are oddball records. Imagine that, be like it's something just for the sake of it being odd. These are records that really don't fit in neatly to any category. Spoken word recordings are an example of this. Instructional albums, and there are some very obscure and strange albums in just about every genre. As far as like, I picked this one up for about $1, couldn't resist it. Here's an example of music from a movie that'll probably never be commercially released and probably never be commercially shown ever again. A movie that, because of the old tropes about the South that this employs, it's not popular today. It's not one that the Disney Corporation is really proud of having in their catalog, but nevertheless, it is in their catalog. And it's got some fun songs in there. Definitely, by today's standards, politically correct, racist based observations on that one makes it collectible. I don't like new country. New country western music really sucks and sucks ass, in my opinion. However, I'm a sucker for the old stuff. Johnny Horton, Little Jimmy Dickens. Here's just a couple of my recent finds. You can find these cheap. If these records are a little bit beat up, it looks like they need to be cleaned up a little. The older the vinyl, the better it's going to play. This vinyl back in this day, it was stiff. You know, you could wash them with hot water and dish soap in your sink if you really want to clean them good. And I'm not making that up. That's something that will work, you know. But I'm sure there's much better ways to do it. But I'm always on the lookout for old hillbilly vinyl. I love the saying that some executive came up with back in the 50s. He said, "There's nothing more dangerous than a hillbilly with a hit record." Also, R&B fan, Chambers Brothers. I know you can't see much of the detail, the artwork on the album cover. It's really trippy. This is Chambers Brothers, the album's New Generation. This would have been after Time and some of their other earlier hits. The band that I always really enjoyed a lot. There's a great photograph on the back. And last but not least, the folk rock scene was a good example. Well, an Irishman, not anywhere well known as he should be, and that's Sean Phillips. Here's one example. I was aware of him when I was younger. I had heard some of his music. Then when I married my wife, Barb, she was a really in earnest Sean Phillips fan, had some of his earlier stuff. Ever since then, I've looked for every one of his releases that I could. Excellent stuff. Sean Phillips, can't recommend him enough. That's a fraction of the records I would like to have. That's just a small portion of what I had on hand that I could show you. I'm interested in almost every genre of music that you could think of, other than, well, as I said before, the new so-called country western. Uh, it doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't move me. There's a lot of very, very popular music that I'm not a hater. I don't hate the people. I don't hate the music. Someone as popular as like Taylor Swift, her music doesn't do anything for me. On the other hand, and this is just a comment I'll make about her music may not be my cup of tea, but she seems to be doing a real good job of pissing off exactly the right people. And for that, I'll give her credit. I think that's great. Bless her. But anyway, analog, sound, vinyl records. What do you think? I grew up listening to vinyl records. I've loved them all my life. Yes, I have CDs, and yes, I have other formats. I don't like streamable formats. I'm one of these old guys that likes to cling to physical media. And if that's not the way for the future, no problem. I won't be around that much longer. Anyway, I've enjoyed talking about this. Please give me some feedback. More subject matter to come in the future. Also, on Lock 22 Productions, please look for Two Marks and a Spark show where Ben Shrewsbury and myself talk about the art and the business of pro wrestling. There's a lot to talk about right now. Please watch out for those. I'm glad to see you this week. I hope everybody has a good one. This is Uncle Russ talking shit.